గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్ రవికుమార్ గారు. నేను జస్ట్ ఒక 10 minutes నుండి నేను వెళ్ళిపోతాను రవికుమార్ గారు. నేనేమి ఉండట్లేదు.
గుడ్ ఆఫ్టర్నూన్. నేను కూడా 5-10 minutes.
ఓన్లీ 10 minutes.
నాది 5 minutes, President 10 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for joining. Bala here.
Yeah. Good evening, Bala.
Good evening. Vishal, let us know when to get started.
Yes, sir. Just we are just 2 minutes. Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Kathy, we can hear you.
Yeah, good afternoon everyone, and welcome to the webinar on Unleashing the Power of Hyper Automation, a Transformational Journey. A very warm welcome to President Mr. Meela Jaidev, to Mr. Ravi Kumar, Vice President, the Chair of the Committee, Mr. Mohan Raidu, Mr. Bala, the co-chair, and we also have our speakers, Ms. Rekha, Ms. Padmavati, and Mr. Venkatesh Varlo. A very warm welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation. Before we begin the session, we would like to show a short film of FTCCI, which will give us an overview of what the FTCCI does, and then we'll start with the proceedings.
(1917), the year when a dedicated organization, the Deccan Chamber of Commerce, was formed to encourage trade and commerce activities. The historical journey of the organization has witnessed great transformation as per the changing needs of the industry and businesses. The Federation of Telangana Chambers of Commerce and Industry, FTCCI, a legacy of excellence, voice of the industry, representing interests of over 25,000 businesses of all sizes, sectors and regions, is empowering industry and trade of Telangana state. A world leader in pharma, a global hub for vaccine, home to all major MNCs, leader in IT exports, and emerging first stop of India. FTCCI advocates a pro-business environment, caters to the needs of MSMEs, budding entrepreneurs, and traders through its advisory services in taxation, market information, industry-related issues, B2B connection. The Chamber has its nominees in the state-level advisory committees to help drive business productivity in providing certificate of origin for exporters, for business travels. The Federation Dedicated Skill Center. It has adopted 14 government ITIs to improve the employability of students. With a uniquely global perspective, the FTCCI events reach a highly engaged audience policymakers, and stakeholders aiming towards Atmanirbhar Bharat.
FTCCI to work with government, tell us and guide us कि हम लोग क्या कर सकते हैं to remain competitive, to remain better than our competition. FTCCI for joining us, and I thank the office bearers of FTCCI for inviting me. Jai Telangana, Jai Hind.
Come and be a part of this dynamic and proactive organization. Together, let's realize the vision for a progressive future.
So, welcome all. And now I welcome our Vice President, Mr. Ravi Kumar, to give the welcome speech.
Yeah. President, would you like to add few words or shall I do it? Jaydev Garu. Yeah, I think Jaydev is in mute. Yeah, it's nice that we are having this webinar, and in fact, FTCCI is playing a major role in creating an awareness that we need to get into automation or hyper automation now. And from the industry's perspective, last decade, we are talking so much about automation, but there are still thousands of MSMEs which are yet to get into automation. And probably people think from an industry angle that automation means only automation for the machinery or for the production line. But automation should also be in business processes and in production chain and workflow and that. And the need of the hour is not automation, as all of you have gathered, and the experts are here to explain the process of hyper automation, where hyper automation includes not just artificial intelligence, but it also includes machine learning and also robotic process automations. Probably now, yes, we are looking forward for the speakers to help us. And we have our chair, Mr. Mohan Raidu. Nice of you, Mohan Raidu, for conducting such wonderful programs. But my request as Vice President of FTCCI is we need to take this forward more and more towards all the MSMEs in the state. So I think, Vishal, should I hand it over to our chair for him to speak now?
Yes, sure. Mr. Raidu, you can take this one, please.
Vishal, yeah, Raidu, please take.
Okay, sir. Thank you, Ravi Kumar Garu. Thank you, Vishal. I am happy to welcome you all to the webinar on Unleashing the Power of Hyper-Automation, a transformational journey. My special welcome to Mrs. Rekha Natarajan, Technology Head, Utilities and Manufacturing Business Group, TCS, and Ms. Padmavati Alavendar, EGG Pega Pre-Sales, TCS, and Mr. Venkateshwarlu Kakireni, the founder of Automator. It is truly pleasant to have the presence of you all, the automation experts and enthusiasts here in this webinar from FTCCI. In today's rapidly evolving world, businesses are under constant pressure to adapt, streamline the processes, and remain competitive. Automation has long been a wonderful, powerful tool in achieving these goals, but hyper-automation takes it to a new level. It represents the convergence of several advanced technologies, including artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotic process automation, and more, to create a seamless and highly efficient automated ecosystem. Hyper-automation is the concept of automating not just repetitive tasks, but entire end-to-end processes and even decision-making, using a combination of technologies. It goes beyond traditional automation to make systems smarter and more adaptable. Hyper-automation is a game changer for organizations across the industries. Very interesting sessions are lined up for today's webinar. I'm sure this webinar will add substantial value to your ideas on hyper-automation. Now I invite Mr. Bala Pedigari, the co-chair of ICT committee, to introduce the sessions, the speakers, and invite them to talk. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Respected leadership team from the FTCCI, Mila Jaydev Garu, Ravi Kumar Garu, Kyati, and also Mohan Raidu. And the speakers of today's session on the hyperautomation. I would like to first set the context. What is this hyperautomation is all about? If you really look at the automation, it is already existing, but Gartner, who is a popular analyst, have termed and coined this word called hyperautomation. This has been constantly referred as an advanced orchestration of multiple technologies, including robotic process automation, which is very, very popular today, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and advanced analytics to automate complex and sophisticated tasks and the processes. Today, it always represents a technological symphony that aims to augment many human capabilities and elevate organizational performance to the different levels. In today's world, what we try to see is about the speed, scale, and complexity of information, which is growing exponentially. Hyperautomation definitely emerges as a beacon of efficiency, which truly enables enterprises to transcend conventional automation limitations and achieve enhanced scalability, agility, and precision. The essence of this webinar is trying to bring you to explore the profound implications and transformation potential which hyperautomation is there to offer. So we are trying to aim from the FTCCI ICT committee to delve deep into such kind of a multifaceted technology and relevance in today's dynamic and competitive business environment. So to understand this piece of hyperautomation, which is playing as a very good catalyst for innovation, productivity, and value creation, we have lined up three important speakers who are there to help us understand what is this hyperautomation, what is the relevance of this hyperautomations in today's context, and also bring you the some kind of a demos which establishes the relevance of the same. The first speaker of today's session is Rekha Natarajan. Rekha has 22 years of IT experience working with diverse customers from industries like telecommunications, retail, utilities, and manufacturing and service areas, as in enterprise automation, quality engineering, and artificial intelligence. For over 6 years, she has been associated with automation function towards growth and transformation initiatives, involving but not limited to intelligent process automation and cognitive automation and low-code, no-code platforms. They all collectively driven towards the hyperautomation to customer. Welcome, Rekha, for the session. And we also have the second speaker, Padmavati Alavandar. She also represents TCS, and she comes from the Pega pre-sales and involved in to bring in a lot of understanding about the relevance of the hyperautomations and the related use cases for your reference. The third speaker of the session is Venkateshwarlu Kakirini, who is a founder of the Automatar. He will be available to help us to understand what Automatar capabilities are and demonstrate Automatar functions so that we understand from the perspective of the automation how it is more relevant and how it can help us in this entire journey. With that note, I'll now hand it over to Rekha to take us forward with an understanding and deep dive us into the hyperautomation world. Thank you. Over to you, Rekha.
Thank you, Bala. I hope I'm audible.
You're audible.
Yeah, okay. I'll share my screen. Okay, I hope my screen is visible. Yeah, first of all, thank you very much to the FTCCI leadership for giving me this opportunity to be part of this prestigious session to talk about the topic of my interest, which is automation and hyperautomation. So I hope this session is of benefit to all the FTCCI members. So before as other speakers and I think the leaders have introduced the topic of hyperautomation, it is actually a wonderful and wonderful concept which has emerged over the period of time. As we know, automation has happened not from day one, but it has started and it has rapidly evolved. So today we are here to talk about how that journey has really happened live in our day-to-day life. So I would say that the industry leaders who are assembled here to hear about hyper automation, I'm pretty sure we are all used to some level of automation, at least in our day-to-day life, and also we have experienced and we are experiencing it as we speak when we look at it across whether the car that we use our the utility service that we use in our day-to-day life, or even chips that we eat on a for our snacks. All these things have come through a process of automation which we call as industrial automation, which are attended or attended by robots, be it a robotic arm or a machine, or the utilities generation, how it is monitored by machines and grids and smart meters, which are not human touched at this point of time, and the human capacity is really leveraged on something much more useful and beneficial to continuously improve the customer experience. Well, that is something we are used to on a day-to-day basis. There is other side of it which are industry agnostic functions, like a supply chain or a CRM. I would say that is where the non-industrial automation have played a significant role. And as Mr. Ravi had given the introduction, industrial automation is evolving quite faster and it is always there, and it is very essential for entrepreneurs like each one of you here to look at how this process automation or how the services automation could be brought in, so that which would bring in much more efficiency and the improvement in terms of experience that we service our customers on a day-to-day basis. And today we are here to talk about that. So when we talk about hyper automation, I just wanted to start with a very simple subject of how automation has even evolved. So I would say that I also come from an entrepreneur family where I have seen all the process which happens are totally manual. A complete office which is run purely with pen and papers, and that is a level of manual processing I've seen, and I'm pretty sure any kind of industry that we go, or any basic operations that we have seen, everything started manually. And then slowly people started adopting software applications, whether it is an ERP or even an Excel spreadsheet, or a Word document, whatever it may be. The adoption of software applications gradually started, where it started replacing to some extent the usage of pen and paper. And then people started realizing, or the industry started understanding, there is a good amount of work or effort which can be really saved from human if we really cut down on the repetitive manual tasks. So the repetitive manual task could be, I am using my Excel spreadsheet or my pen and paper on a daily basis to note down how much of spend I am incurring on my business on a day-to-day basis, or what is my the flow of supply chain, whether it is outgoing order intake, managing my inventory, whatever I'm managing in an Excel spreadsheet or some other format. Those recurring activities, how could I really automate it so that I could spend more time thinking about how I will innovate in my business. So then came the introduction of robotic process automation. Then there was a time when robotic or process automation also became a conventional automation. And then came the thought process of, what if we try to understand, then came the question of customer experience. Can we really understand our end customer better, even and then make the machine learn from what has happened in the past and try to take some decision by itself, rather than rule driven or repetitive action driven? Can we make it little more intelligent? That is where the the concept of NLU, machine learning, and all came into picture. And then people started building, or the IT industry started evolving systems which are quite intelligent, knowledgeable, which has included the machine learning, and started taking decisions by itself. And that is where the evolution of cognitive automation, like the different industry leaders like IBM, Watson, TCS's Ignio, there are multiple players in this market who have really started evolving from a cognitive automation perspective. After all these, people felt, okay, the peak of automation has arrived. But then there was one factor which was missing, which is like interlinking each of these different aspects together. When I say different aspects, there are software applications, there is robotic process automation, there is machine learning, there are intelligent applications. But at the same time, are we really reaping the complete benefit of it as from an IT as a whole? The answer was no. So that gave birth of hyper automation. So while Gartner came up with the name hyper automation, I would say that this was realized by many IT organizations that there should be a way of working when it comes to automation, how we should put automation to use. So that is where hyper automation was born. And so now, what is hyper automation? I think by now we would have heard or got a glimpse of what is hyper automation to all of us. So one is, how can we deliver automation by integrating different technologies together, whether it is RPA or whether it is ERP systems or NLUs, natural language understanding, AI, ML, machine learning in the process. And so make use of all the technologies to deliver the best from a customer experience perspective or value to the business. And second is, there was a time when automation was initially born, as I was explaining, where automation was looked at as siloed process automation, activity automation, task automation. But hyper automation really focused on end-to-end process. So how will you automate the end-to-end process? Because unless a process is end-to-end automated, you will not realize the complete value. So how could it be? How that can be achieved? Hyper automation had an answer to it. And making it business inclusive. So when it comes to IT services industry, many of you might know, we always look at automation as an effort reducing lever. But hyper automation gave it a different pitch. How do we make it more business inclusive? Meaning, how can my end customer be benefited out of automation? How can it improve the customer experience? And I had the word total experience. How automation can result in improvement in terms of be it customer experience, user experience, and also employee experience. Because see, end of day, employee experience is something people really don't realize the importance, because it is granted or taken for granted that employees should be happy as long as they get to do a job and they get the salary. But what we have seen as the difference is, when this redundant monotonous activities are automated, employees are really able to put more effort in terms of making their work more innovative. They can bring in more process related improvements, and they can also upskill themselves, so that will add value to your own business. So that total experience as a concept was really made to practice or put into practice with hyper automation. Last but not the least, hyper automation is data driven. One of the factors which was really an eye opener in this whole process of identifying hyper automation is the role that data played. Say, for example, when we talk about automation, it is not always about automating everything. So how the data can trigger the decision making of what to be automated, what not to be automated. My colleague here, Padma, will talk about the process mining part. So the data driven is something which is very much engaged from a process mining perspective. So these are the critical components or aspects of hyper automation. And the latest additions to add to hyper automation's benefit or advantages: low code, no code. Okay, all these concepts are great and very good to hear, but to implement this, we need people, we need technologists who are highly, very, ready, difficult to get it in the market. And how do I really manage to run the show forever? So that is where comes the play of low code, no code applications. This is something which is quite evolving. I think we have a presentation from Automator also, where we will hear some aspects of it. So low code, no code is another aspect which has really simplified, or at least made it quite easy to adopt from a adoption or implementation perspective. And then, of course, not last but not the least, the cloud adoption. So that has really given us the computing power for making automation more adaptable, more easy to adapt or approachable for any industry, so that we can make use of cloud capabilities as and when it is required. So these are the different aspects and components of hyper automation from an introduction perspective. I think by now we know why is hyper automation important, but to summarize it, one is the productivity part. When I'm automating my end-to-end activity, that is going to really help me with my productivity, my bandwidth, or the productivity of my team, or the turnaround that I'm going to make out of my service or industry is going to really be a lot better, and that in turn is going to really help me with the reduced cost. Whether it is when my supply chain or my inventory management process, all these are automated, that is going to really help me to take more volume, and in turn at a reduced cost. So my cost of operations is going to go down. And the third important aspect, as I conveyed earlier, is experience, because this is one thing which people always do not notice in the first instance, that automation could lead to experience. One of the examples that we really quote is, say for example, I have a vendor who has submitted their invoice to me, or and then the payment has to be processed. When it is 100% done manually, it takes its own sweet time in terms of taking it to my system, and then recording it, and then doing the proper validations, and then issuing the payment. But at the same time, when this process is end-to-end automated, the payment will get cleared in no time. So that really gives a lot of different experience when compared to the whole process happening manually. So this experience, as we said earlier, from a employee, customer, and user is very critical. And last but not the least, your industry, when applied with automation, or when enabled with automation, becomes much more competitive, and you are in the competitive edge when you are really dealing with your competition. So these are the different aspects which really makes hyper automation important and critical. So having said this, so far what we have seen is hyper automation, what is hyper automation, why hyper automation, and so on. So what is the value that I am going to add to you today is more from this slide. Because when you look at adopting hyper automation, what are the critical things that we should look at? So since I come from the IT industry, and we had been doing this practical implementation of automation, I have already seen that the way it has evolved, and where it failed and where it worked. So these are some of the points which I've taken from my personal experience. So one is it is a wrong assumption to make that we have to automate everything. Actually, we should focus on the objective. What am I really going to achieve out of this automation? And is that something that is going to give me ROI in terms of whether it is monetary, meaning whether it is going to reduce the cost, or is it going to really excite my stakeholders so that I'll get more business? So that focus on objective is very, very important. That is what I had mentioned as outcome driven and result oriented focus. And second one would be, what is the strategy? How am I going to plan my automation, and what is the investment I'm going to make? It is not that hyper automation is a buzzword, hence I'm going to invest everything on lot of tools, and I'm going to buy one of each from the market, and I'm going to invest and do a heavy investment on automation. Because end of day, when you do the ROI, as industrialists, all of you will be very much aware how much you invest versus what is the return is very important. So how you want to approach your automation and the level of investment is something which is very critical, and an informed decision to be made. And when we talk about architecture, since these are related to, we are talking about IT automation, process automation, care must be taken in terms of what data, how much of data we are leveraging or exposing in this automation, and then what are the checks and balance and controls are we putting in place. Say for example, I'm digitizing a process, I'm creating an application. I need to make sure that there are security controls in place, so that whoever is authorized to use these applications are using it, and not just in the name of a bot. Anybody and everybody can access my internal data, what is there in my CRM or ERP. So all these checks and balance and have to be well thought through, and the architecture must be properly designed. And the fourth point is implementation. How do we go about implement the automation, whatever we have seen? So when we talk about implementation, one important aspect is who is going to use this automation. So if it is going to be your internal team, say for example, there is a finance automation, you are going to automate your O2C process, order to cash process, as part of your FNA, and then it is going to be used by your own finance team in the company or organization. And if they are not familiar how to leverage the automation or use the automation, then end of day your ROI, or the benefit that you are looking to yield out of this automation will not be achieved. So the automation adoption, there has to be a plan. When you are planning for automation, you should also have a plan how this automation will be adopted or used by internal organizations. And more importantly, the commitment from the stakeholder, whether it is top down or bottom up, we need to have commitment from each stakeholder in terms of whether it is utilization or leveraging the output in terms of what is coming out of our automation, or maintaining the robots. All these have to come as part of the implementation, and that has to be the roles and responsibilities should be really clearly well defined. And when it comes to maintenance on a continuous basis, because every software process or automation will have to go through a maintenance phase, where if you are bringing in any changes to your process, or if you are bringing in any changes to the way in which you are working, then the bots have to be continuously maintained. And also when you are doing the maintenance or investing effort on maintenance, you need to have governance around whether that is giving you additional value or whether it is okay to continue as manual. I think such kind of governance in terms of metrics and KPIs, we should have checks and balance, so that we keep a tab on the benefit that you are going to finally derive out of automation. And as I said, hyper automation had been, now is the final one where everything is evolving into hyper automation. At the same time, industry or technology is not going to stop there. Now Gen AI is the buzzword. So as a continuous improvement, if you are looking to bring in more, keep your eyes and ears open in terms of what is happening in the industry, and where we could look at the evolution of something like a Gen AI, how it could really bring in further more productivity or further more value addition to your business and customers, is something we should look at as part of our ongoing maintenance. So that is what I meant by continuous improvement. So these are the different practical experience that we should be considering beyond what we call as the different technology adoption, evolution, and so on, which are basics from a hyper automation. But these experiences are something which I really wanted to share as part of today's discussion with you. I hope you are able to follow, and if there are any questions, we will be able to take it later. And as requested by Bala, I have a very small demo just to show you hyper automation in action, for you to appreciate the art of possible from a technology perspective. And then I'll pass it on to Padma. Bala, please let me know if my screen is visible, the demo is visible. Is this visible, Bala?
No, demo is not visible yet.
Okay. Should I stop and start sharing again?
Try to share the screen, or if that is possible.
Yeah, I'll just try. Yeah, now it is audible. Now it is visible.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, thanks. So what we have built is a demonstrable solution from an invoice processing perspective. say I thought this is something which is very common whichever industry we go. So we just wanted to show you. So what you are going to see is in a manual process, what will happen is we will get invoices in different forms and templates, and you will be processing it manually. You will be entering into the system and the information, validating it manually. And then once the validation is complete, you will be either entering it into your ERP or any other billing system that you may have. And then that will get processed. In this whole process of manual time frame, somebody would be checking on the status, what is happening to my invoice, and then you have to revert back after checking. All these are the different experience that we will see when we are talking about manual processing. Now, what we are going to see is the art of possible when it comes to this automation. Okay, so what we have done here is we have built a digital application which is built using low code, no code for your information, and where the whole process is built, where the user, if I am an industrialist, I am running this ABC system, I can store all my invoices, I can view my invoices, and I can also automatically process my invoices, whichever I'm going to get into the system. And then I'll be able to, see a report of how many invoices were processed for the day and how many of it failed, because it is automation. So we have to see how many of it failed, how many of it passed. And I should be able to even add new invoice data if I have to do it manually. So we built also a chatbot integration where anybody, say if you as a owner can go and check, or anybody else can also come and check the status of the invoice. Now, what we have shown here is, in this case, ABC International gets the invoices by email. So the way in which the process is automated, it will need not be manually triggered, but as when the mail is received, the flow will get triggered, where it will start extracting the information. This is nothing but the underlying technology which we use from Microsoft Power application, Power Platform, where it will automatically start extracting the data, and it will at the back end open SAP, which is the billing system that we have used for the demo. And then the bot is automatically logging in, and then it is going to process the invoice data, whatever is getting extracted at the back end. It will do the validations. So we have kept some validations, whether the date is correct and invoice number format is correct. If there are duplicate checks, all those are automated. And then it will generate the doc ID when it comes to the invoices. And the same process, and then the same, once the invoice is processed, it will also automatically send out email to the end vendor saying your invoice is successfully processed, or if there are errors, it will send out the errors, whatever are the number of errors which are processed. And from a demo perspective, we have just shown how this data was extracted and how it was processed. But in real time, all these things will be happening in the backend. So end of day, you are getting invoices in your email, 100 invoices, then it will get fatafat processed in less than 30 minutes, or less than, I'm just exaggerating. It could be 15 to 30 minutes, depending on the volume or quantity of information to be processed. And so what the other point which I explained is, and as this process is automated, this is using something called an AI builder, which is the AI ML aspect, where it will process the invoice, and depending on the data which it is consuming, it can manually identify where is the invoice number, what is the invoice amount. So whatever you see highlighted, this is all done automatically. And then the information is extracted. So whenever I'm processing a new template, somebody can go manually and then validate the data and so on. So this is the chatbot instance that I was referring to. So we integrated a chatbot just to show the art of possible. So here you can always come and check at any point of time what is happening with my invoice. Then instead of having a person attending a phone call to answer all your queries, chatbot itself will say what is happening with the invoice. And I'm sure we all have used chatbot in our day-to-day work. So these are the things which are how it will answer or respond to the vendor or whoever is using the chatbot. So nowadays we have ChatGPT and we have Gen AI. I am sure the experience would be a lot more better when we use it. But this was just, used as a demonstration to tell you the art of possible, how different technologies are integrated together to deliver hyper automation. So with that, my part is done. So I will hand it over to Padma to continue and explain to you from her experience working with the business process management and other applications. Over to you, Padma.
All right. Thank you, Rekha. And first of all, thank you so much, the entire committee, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to talk about this hyper automation. I'm so delighted. Let me take a while. I'll just take you all, how the unit which I belongs to, we just started this, the journey of this hyper automation, and how we understand the significance of this hyper automation, and how we are seamlessly supporting our customers, to just lay down the framework by using this component of hyper automations. Yeah. And Rika, can you please continue sharing your screen so that, yeah, thank you. All right. So, well, before this, before we get into it, probably I'll just start with this. I want to start with a good and positive note. Something last month, Gartner has announced that.
Mrs. Padma, may I interrupt? I'm sorry to interrupt. Vishal, would you like to take a picture of the participants before the next session starts?
Thank you. Can we please switch on the video for a while?
Yeah, all of you please switch on the videos.
Thank you. Thank you, please.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So, before we just get into this, right, I think the screen is not being shared. All right, so let me start with this positive note that, the Gartner has announced that we are the partner and single vendor for this low-code and no-code applications. All right. So the platforms which I belongs to is enterprise application service. We do have a lot of technical stacks, right, from Pega, APN, Mendix, Salesforce, SAP, ServiceNow, and whatnot. We do have a lot of technical stacks here. And a customer, when we talk to the customers, when we get into the proposal, when we get into the discussion with the customers, their pulse would be, guys, don't preach us, what is automation, and just showcase us what can be automated. And of course, we all well aware of it. I wouldn't say to the customer simply, hey, this process or this workflow can be automated. Fine. The next question will, immediately from the customer would be like, okay, fine. What would be the benefit, you can bring back to the board if these course of actions or the course of workflow would be automated, right? So, well, I would say that hyper automation, it's a kind of, personalization. To me, like a hyper automation is a hyper personalization. This doesn't mean that everything can be automated and the value can bring back to the customer or the industry wherever you belongs to. So we have to step back and see to it what needs to be automated here. So the more personalized experiences are more effective, of course it can be, right? So I'm coming back to my platform. So I said, like, I have a lot of technical stacks here. And I kept saying this word, we understand the significance of this hyper automation. As a result, we have a lot of capabilities, the platform which I belongs to, we just kept, building the capabilities. Probably you may puzzle, what sort of the capabilities we are building, and we are, bringing the wow factor from the customer. Well, I would say that, we just started this journey right from a conversational AI. We all know this AI, of course, is ruling this IT industry. And we just started this, why don't we do this piloting by using this conversational AI? That is how the journey is started. And with the support of AI assistant to develop certain applications, I would say, well, the result was massive. It was well received by the customer because it was a help to improve a quick time to market, and this is what the business is being expected for. And as a result, they were kept expecting a lot from TCS, from our unit, from the practice which it belongs to, and we slowly turned into process mining. See, we know that, because I don't want to preach about what is what. Rather, I would say that the way which I have used, or which we use the process mining, is to evaluate where is the trailback, how the trailback can be fixed, or how the trailback can be optimized. That is how, we have been used or tuned the process mining, I would say. And not only that, we just kept improving this conversational AI, and as a result, we just found that there is a lot of connectors, right? There is a lot of connectors, and that is, helping us to connect with open AI, right? Because I would say that the word called chat GBT, which is ruling this entire IT industry. So we thought, how chat GBT can be interconnected with open AI. And as a result, we just enabled this sort of wonderful combination. You will not believe me if I say this reference. Everyone, of course, you would be knowing that the event FIFA World Cup, it's been commenced last year in Qatar, right? This exactly, we have been used to this sort of combination. So conversational AI, chat GPT, we just supported this customer, through one of our gaming industry. I cannot call out the customer name here. And through that gaming industry, we supported the entire, world event. That you just imagine that if something would not be viable, or the data which is not viable to any of this, the customer or consumer, and the consequences is it. Of course, it was quite challenging as well. And if you're so interested how we handled, how we overcome the hindrance, I'm so happy to talk about it, but not in this introduction, discussion. We may connect probably in the upcoming call. And well, I would say that, this was so challenging. We just enabled this hyper automation through this gaming industry to conduct this event of FIFA World Cup. The success of this event, earned one more opportunity to work with the customer, this Women's World Cup as well. So, well, it's been well proven, right? This a lot of public event, the worldwide event, also can be controlled and can be modernized by using this hyper automation. Well, not only that, something like I said, we understand the significance. Then I have to talk about what sort of significance we understand on this. I would say that the customer is expecting the package set of, the utility. In short, I can call it as a utility. It's just expecting, see, don't give me the product, because I belongs to Pega, right? It sits in Massachusetts, Pega product, but the customer is expecting, don't give me the product, don't sell the product. More importantly, I'm coming from sales background, right? I should not talk about, guys, you should, buy this, and why talk about the procurement team, it will talk about the cost and all. The customer would lose the interest. Rather, I would say, guys, I have these capabilities here, and this which is enabled with open AI. Something, this capability or this plugin can be easily plugged in with any of your existing application to add the flavor of hyper automation. They would say, wow, this is what this is being expected, right? As a result, we have a lot of composable offerings here, and we just slicing down this lot of, the major solution part into the smaller chunks, I would say. The chunks which is called it as a composable offerings here. This composable offerings is being shared across to the customers wherever is required, whenever is applicable, right? And they are easily plugged in, and then they're just adopting, and the result is massive. And not only this this gaming industry, I do have another real-time example as well. Well, we all aware of this telco industry or telecom industry, right? The telecom industry also, the challenge to the customer is, see, guys, I want to understand my customer's mood swing, right? Because the churn rate, it's kind of dangerous word to the telco customers, because the churn rate should be decreased. It should not be increased, right? And how this can be decreased? Probably I would say that the interest of the customer, based on their interest, right? Supposed to be shared my bundle of offers, or what I'm having for them, how I can retain the customers without disrupting. So how this can be possible? Then we said, guys, we do have the analytics, right? By using this analytics, predictive analytics, we can predict, we can adapt. We have a lot of analytics across this hyper automation, so predictive analytics or adaptive analytics. By invoking this, we can easily control the churn rate. As a result, your customer would be more satisfied and happy. They would be staying as long as they want your service. So this is how we just also serving across the telecom industry. Right. I do have another example as well. Probably rather, pouring the example, well, I would say that probably you may ask the question, see how you are ensuring that my customers are so happy, the way which I'm delivering the product or the way which I'm delivering the service. Of course, yes, the KPI, it's very a classic term, I would say, but still, which is really, we can make it as modernized way. We do have certain KPIs, it's the sense like to generate or to evaluate whether my product or my, offerings or my solution, which is making a massive impact at the customer landscape or not. Right. So it's my responsibility. So, well, I'm just, keep on driving that through this KPI. Of course, that should be also automated. Through this KPI, we're understanding that, yes, the churn rate is getting decreased in the telco, across the telco industry, the customer which I'm handling on, and the healthcare, across the healthcare. Yes, the consumers are so happy, and there is no such delay in the response, no network latency here, and whatnot. So whatever the customer expectation or whatever the customer vision, we just set their vision into the KPI, and we just kept driving this KPI to measuring this KPI to measure the result. Am I traveling in the right direction, or am I drifted from the ask? Right. This is how we are just ensuring that the customer is so happy at the end of the day. Yes, being the technical delivery partner, we are also sharing the right composable offerings to the customer the way it is being expected. Having said that, I just talked about a couple of examples. Well, I'll just conclude my the journey of probably the crux of my understanding this hyper automation in this way. See, like you just step back wherever the industry belongs to, you just step back and you see to it what sort of workflows or the process or daily actions which is really require the manual interventions. Yeah, and you see to it is that can be automated. Well, yes. And we have a lot of automation tools and techniques across the digital world. But then what would be the right fitment, or what would be the right tool or right tool set in order to automate your existing process? As a result, you would definitely end it with hyper automation, because the way we have chosen, we have bundled the technologies within hyper automation is we have chosen AI wherever is required. It doesn't mean that you should be included or it should be invoked AI if you want to adopt a hyper automation. So not at all. Wherever is required, based on your business requirement, based on your customer demand, you can choose RPA or this BPM, analytics model, and machine learning, and you can combine. As a result, you would be building your own customized packages that would be well proven, well configured packages, and of course easy to implement as well. This is the way you can think about it. You can well articulate your customer, and you can correlate the requirement with your solution, and of course you can anticipate your benefits as well, where the customer would be, where they would be landed if they would be adopting this hyper automation. And not only this technical bit, and commercially we have to make them feel good. Otherwise, they would not be happy, because I'm telling you, based on my experience, it doesn't easy to get the wow factor from the customer if I'm selling something, because they would expecting, okay, forget about the technical benefits. What would be the commercial benefits? What would be the return on investment, which I would be getting? So that I would be in the position to talk about both the commercial and technical stuff. And prior to it, I should do this a lot of groundwork. I just doing a lot of analysis, Gartner, Everest, what the other guys are talking about, this hyper automation, what is my incumbent customer are doing. So based on all this analysis, we would be bundling the key components across this hyper automation, and we would be doing the piloting, and we would be having a discussion with the customer frequently. And as a result, I would say that all of our the Pega customers, and not only the Pega but also like my enterprise application customers, they're so delighted to travel with this hyper automation. And you can stop me if you have any questions. All right, so this is what I want to share with you all. So finally, I'll conclude this way. So you just think about this ChatGPT. You can think about it, the Gen AI. Of course, it's all very fantasy terms, but then we need to step back and see to it, which is really inapplicable for me. If yes, how I can integrate this open AI with ChatGPT or this Gen AI with my existing tools and technical stacks to bring a massive the experience, to bring massive positive experience at your customer landscape, right? So this is what I do have for today for you. And if anything else you want to be asked, you want to be known, you can post the questions.
Thank you, Padma. I think we will take up the questions after Venkat's session. Over to you, Venkat.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Rekha and Padma, for a wonderful, background about hyperautomation. And so I'll start off by sharing my screen. So I represent a company called Automator. We've been building automation, workflow automation platform for the last couple of years. We've launched in the month of June. So I start from the very first important thing that every industry is going through a disruption. If you look at statistics that says from year 2000, about Fortune 500 companies out of 500, I think 52% of them become extinct. Now, because if you look at there's a constant disruption that is going on, and companies have to adopt to the newer age, new technologies, new trends. And if they fail to do so, it would be a competitive disadvantage, and the customer will start going to other competitive customers. So you've been being left behind, right? If you look at UBS, in 2007, they started their world's largest trading floor with 5,000 traders. And in 2016, thanks to the boom of online trading, they had to literally, empty the trading floor and they sell it off. The entire ecosystem and the way companies are doing business is changing. So I start with saying that why the automation or hyper automation is needed in the current set of economic conditions. It is to go and transform your business and to adopt to newer requirements. Now, on an average, any company uses, any decentralized company uses close to 50 applications in their organizations to conduct their business. This actually results in loss of productivity, more and more human errors, which also impacts the customer satisfaction, vendor satisfaction, and employee morale. So how do we solve this? And, like Rekha mentioned, Gartner coined this word called hyperautomation. Now, we've been automating tasks from a long time previously also. First the industrial automation came, and then the software automation started, where we are automating. But the word hyperautomation came from a fact that how do I use multiple technologies? In a very simple word, how do I use a combination of technologies to automate end-to-end processes, which would then give me the result of optimizing my process, reducing the cost, and also increase the satisfaction. And if you look at it, the start of the automation journey is like, where you automate a very simple task, like, an invoice needs to be processed, or, or someone sent an email, we need to respond back to a more complex processes, like, I want to automatically process the invoice. I would want to go and solve the customer issues. And how do we achieve this? By using machine learning or RPA and a combination of these technologies. And in my view, hyperautomation is nothing but combination of technologies to solve a business problem. Now, automation is continuously evolving, right? At the start of the automation journey, the bots or digital workers used to emulate humans and say, you give a specific set of rules, and and at repetitive tasks, which we would continue to emulate as a user doing it, and then complete the task. Today, AI is grown to an extent where it is able to decide, and increasingly complex cognitive tasks can be automated using AI. Now, how do I use AI into my regular businesses where RPA comes into picture, the hyper-automation comes into picture? Automator, we've been building this for the last 2 years. It's a platform that helps you integrate, all your business applications in a very, very easy fashion. It can work on top of any of your existing applications. It can pull the data from any application, push the data into any other application. Basically, it will help the customers to pull, integrate the data that is being, in different applications, so that the end-to-end process can be automated. Let me run a video, very, small video of 3 minutes.
In a world that's always...
Just a second, please.
In a rush, businesses need to move faster, perform better, and stay ahead. How? Automation is a proven way to enhance the way people work. By automating boring and repetitive tasks, users are freed up to focus on thought-provoking work that requires creativity, critical thinking, and human judgment. Allow us to introduce Automator, the future of automation at work, where efficiency meets simplicity. Automator helps companies create a digital workforce. With Automator, you can create highly customizable processes using your relevant data sources, regardless of your software development skills. Automator enables you to design, build, and run enterprise-grade business process automation within minutes. Automator comprises of 3 powerful components: the Studio, Bots, and Hub. Together, they weave magic into your business processes, powering your employees to work smarter, better, and faster. With Studio, our intuitive low-code designer, you can build automation workflows with just a few clicks, or using plain English scripts driven by NLP. Automator allows you to write automation at lightning speed. Meet your digital workers. They're tirelessly working around the clock to execute the automations you've built with Studio. They're efficient, accurate, and reliable. Your trusted aids in business automation. Automator Hub, the central portal for all your automation needs. This portal manages your workflows, bots, schedules, and transactions. It's the command center that keeps your business processes running smoothly round the clock. And what's more, Automator connects seamlessly with all major apps, making integration a breeze. This means your workflows are always in sync and up to date. Want to go live faster? Use our pre-built automations. Just plug and play. It's that simple. You save time and resources and gain speed and accuracy. Now let's talk about intelligence. With our AI marketplace, we bring you a plethora of AI solutions. Choose from an ecosystem of our trusted partners to make your automation smarter and cheaper. Who said automation is just for the big guns? At Automator, we've got tools for everyone. Whether you're a thriving SME, a growing organization, or a multinational giant, with Automator, you're not just automating your processes, you're embracing the future. Imagine a world where your business operates seamlessly, where your teams can focus on what truly matters. So, why wait? Get started now and experience the power of automation.
So I'm going back to the Automator platform, what we're trying to build. So we're trying to build a suite of, we built a suite of applications, which can be used to do an end-to-end automation of your workflow processes and we're using generative AI to make it very easy to use. It is so we have an entire suite of applications that will help the customers automate the.
Venkat, your voice is not audible. Can you please check?
Okay. Is it better? Can you hear me?
You're audible.
Okay.
Yes, Venkat.
Yeah. So at Automator, we've been building a platform that can, take care of automating from end-to-end automation, right from, building a automation, workflow automation, to infusing AI on top of the workflows, to creating your own machine learning models. And we've been using Gen AI on top of all of these to make it very, very accessible for the customers. Now, I would go to the next video where I would want to run you through a use case which we have worked on. Just a second, please.
Now.
Okay, it's for one of our customer who has been into processing visa applications. There's a good chance if you apply to Dubai visa today, our bots actually process your visa. So we've automated the end-to-end solution for them. So I want to start the demo for the same.
Now, let's dive into a real-life use case that demonstrates the power of our visa application solution. In this scenario, we'll walk you through the seamless process of applying for a visa using our mobile app integrated with the Automat-R platform. As we join our user, they're preparing for an exciting international journey. The first step is simple: opening our mobile app and clicking on Apply Visa. With just a tap, the journey begins. Now, it's time to upload the necessary documents, starting with the passport. Once the documents are uploaded, our powerful Automat-R platform takes over. Our advanced AI ML engine swings into action, swiftly recognizing and extracting all the essential information from the documents. Within moments, the app is filled with all the required data, ready for the user's review. The user takes a moment to cross-check the information for accuracy and completeness. Once satisfied, they proceed with confidence, knowing their application is error-free. The data is sent back to the Automat-R platform for validation, ensuring everything is in perfect order. With a successful validation, the system seamlessly logs into the government portal. It takes care of filling in all the details. Including resizing and uploading any additional documents required. Finally, an application ID is generated, and it's updated on the user's mobile app, providing them with a sense of accomplishment. In this use case scenario, we've witnessed how our integrated mobile app and the Automat-R platform transform the visa application process, making it faster, more efficient, and hassle-free. This demo illustrates how our solution simplifies the complex process of applying for a visa.
So this is the case study we was actually mentioning. So before we actually implemented Automator in their platform, there were about 5 people processing 600 visa applications. It was error prone. People were having issues with the quality because, when humans are doing all these repetitive tasks, which were, there's not really a lot of intelligence built into the process. Whereas when, they were handling about 600 applications, when we implemented automation into that process, we were able to achieve about 20x, benefit. And their 5 agents are now processing close to 60,000 applications. And in this way, if you look at in the entire use case, we have used different systems to achieve the end-to-end automation. We've used mobile app to go and capture the information from the user. And then we used artificial intelligence, machine learning, and computer vision to capture, extract all the information, so to make it very easy for the user. And once the user validates that everything is looking good, the bots take over, goes and updates in the information back into the government portal. And from there, everything is automated, right from checking if there is any extra documents is needed. So effectively, we were able to improve the process efficiency by 95%. And we were able to go and achieve this under 2 weeks. And that's the power of automation. So when you say hyper automation, how can I combine different technologies to achieve end-to-end? And thanks to no-code technologies that we've been working on, our studio, where you can automate any of the workflows effortlessly, we were able to achieve. So the new age technologies made it very easy. The ROI for for your process is going to be very, very fast. And we've been striving hard to go and build more and more tools that can help them. For example, we've been implementing Gen AI on top of our entire suite so that people can actually create workflows using Gen AI. And even we're creating intelligent assistant that can be used to kick off, workflows. There are different use cases to it, right? When you're talking about automation, and especially end-to-end automation, there are a lot of use cases that can be automated for giving the better customer experience, vendor experience, and also making your employees free up from all these tasks so they can actually concentrate on the real business. Thank you so much, guys. It was really nice. Thank you, FTCCI, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Venkat. I believe the sessions from Rekha, Padma, and Venkat has truly brought in an understanding about how hyper-automation can really make a bigger impact to all the cases of industries. It is really opening up the avenues for bringing and converging the technologies such as AI, machine learning, and automation techniques together to solve the problems with an accelerated view. And making such intelligent automations can make a bigger impact. The floor is open for questions. If any of the participants has any particular questions, they can put it in the Q&A panel or chat window. We will ask the panelists to answer those questions for you. So to break the do the ice-breaking exercise, I will start out with a couple of questions to the panelists. I just want your view on that. So where do you see this evolution of hyper-automation heading in the next 5 years? And beyond the things what you mentioned, are there any other emerging trends we should be aware of? Question is open for all the panelists, Rekha, Padma, and Venkat.
Yeah. Well, I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, you are audible.
Yeah. So where we see in next 5 years, as we all, I think all the panelists spoke, Gen AI will have a lot of role to play in this, where right from understanding the context and then even processing it with a lot more efficiency. I think that is going to be one of the critical factors that we will see evolving over a period of time. While we have so many tools in the market and all these are integrated technologies, and I would say, one which can understand or predict what is going to come in the subsequent or the next set of action or a response from a end customer, that is going to be changing the game altogether, and not just processing the existing data. Predictive capabilities, I think that is going to be the next mantra or the subsequent one that we will all see. I'll probably let Padma and Venkat also to add in.
Yeah, absolutely. Bala, like on top of Rekha's view, then I would say that absolutely, we are just predicting that the analytics model as well as the open AI, if any sort of this open AI, be it with process mining or Gen AI, this ChatGPT, if you are, of course, come up with this open AI, and that would be leading your market, that is what customer is being expected for. So, right, in not only next to 5 years, down the line in next to 2 years, I would see that, this IT industry would be predominantly dominating by this open AI and Gen AI concepts. So if we understand the nuances, how this can be enabled and how this can be adopted as a composable offerings, the way I explained, and that would be really, helpful to the audience if anyone wants to have a deep dive on this hyper automation.
Right. I added to what Rekha said. So the entire automation and Gen AI actually brought technology closer to the business. Previously, if a business had to go and do an automation or any sort of automation, they were dependent on people who are, experienced, maybe, subject matter expert, and we had to create a team. Now the tools have reached to a stage, I think in next few years, businesses will be able to automate or, streamline their processes without much of a technical guy coming into the picture. So Gen AI actually revolutionized in such a way that it brought the technology closer to business.
Excellent. I think the statement where you said that the technical guys may not be required to do the automation or would be bringing a new perspective and a thought completely. My next question for you is, again, this is open for all the panelists. So basically wanted to understand your perspective on the thoughts on the different social implications it could trigger because of the hyperautomation introduction. Particularly, people will carry this kind of a mindset that it could displace your jobs and skill requirements will be completely changed. So I just want you to share your thoughts on the social implications of the hyperautomations in relation to job displacement and skill requirements.
If I may answer that. So yeah, I have my own perspective on it, but if you look at it, when computers were introduced, people said, we are going to lose jobs, and then, but it actually made us smarter. So I strongly believe all the technologies and Gen AI and the artificial intelligence going, where we would be ending up using the technology much more easier. I mean, usage of technology in daily life is going up. But also that means that from a social perspective, there are going to be new types of jobs coming up. So we will become a more value economy rather than, I would say, data entry economy.
Okay. Any other perspectives from the panelists?
No, that's a wonderful point which Venkat had brought in, Bala. So as he mentioned, I want to reiterate that it is not about displacing the existing jobs, but adding more value to customers. So how can I make use of that effort to put my effort or invest it on adding more better value to the customers so that we all exceed the customer expectations. So it is repurposing more than replacing.
Okay.
Absolutely. End of the day, Bala, that it's all, I don't want to make a panic statement. Rather, I would say positively, it's all machine, right? So human is, setting up the process, what has to be, executed, right? So we are setting up. So having said that, I would say that why don't we master in, Gen AI, master in this ChatGPT, master in all this open AI, how this can be effectively utilized to the customers which we are working for, that would always bring the value add, is it? So rather we're just thinking about, is that really, replace my job? That is my perception. So, well, if we know that how those can be operated, how those can be controlled effectively, then we would be always the, irreplaceable asset in the company wherever we belongs to, right?
Rather than taking it as a risk of displacing the job, taking it as an opportunity for aiding the functions.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The next question is on, since you all are part of the hyperautomation, you are all part of the journey of hyperautomation. I want to understand from all of you, what kind of challenges any particular organization will be encountering when implementing hyperautomation, and how you go about addressing them? Any specific challenges?
Yeah. So, we've been working with customers in last 6 to 8 months. The biggest challenge I see is the change, right? People are scared of change. So when someone wants to get into an automation, how do you handle change management in your organization? That's one of the major points that we drive with our customers. The second thing is obviously trying to overachieve. You need to understand, like Rekha said at the start itself, how do you identify those low-hanging fruits? How do you go baby steps towards taking an end-to-end process automation? Most of the time, customers try to do, okay, can I automate this entire process without understanding the impact of it? How the entire business is going to be changed because of this automation. I think these are the two major factors that we normally keep in mind when we go and talk to customers.
Very true, Venkat. In fact, that made me, I just recollected some incident. When we talk about hyper automation, there was always a fear of, oh, do I have to do everything together? And will I really get the value after doing everything together? What ROI would I get, and so on? So it is about all splitting into smaller problems and then reprioritizing it. Take a problem which will give you even a value, even as a standalone process, and then integrate it together. So that is one of the important things. And then some people, out of more curiosity, end up investing in lot of technologies, lot of tools. That is not, you have to really look at what is required and then invest in the right tool, right technology. So these are some of the things that I've seen on the ground, Bala.
Yeah, Bala, my view was that I said like this gaming industry, it was, the Qatar World event or Women's World Cup event was quite challenging. Of course, it's a world event. And, the mechanism is that like, say, for example, if belongs to France and France is going to play today evening, then all this, of course, the French people, they would vote for their, the team only. They would always expect their team should, win this cup, is it? So that is how the requirement was. But then, unfortunately, while the French person wants to vote for their country folks, country fellows, this app were not allowed to them. Sort of discrepancy, because I wouldn't always showcase a green picture or, the rosy words like, yes, the journey was always good. No. It was, of course, very tough either, because we also had a whole day like, hiccups, and then a lot of hindrance, technical breaches, a lot of stuff would happen. So then, of course, yes, that crisis, we just learned a lot in the sense, as of course, Venkat, I just like this word, in the sense, we need to understand what should be the low-hanging fruit. But at the same time, we should be very cautious. Is that really the low-hanging fruit for us to, achieve the result, the way it is expected? So then we thought, okay, well, let's step back. Whatever this, the strategy which we're projecting to the customer, let's revisit the strategy. Yeah, let's revisit the strategy. And firstly, slicing down the requirement into the smaller chunks, and take a small chunk and then apply a component of this hyper automation, whatever it's really viable or feasible for us to, implement, then go ahead to the customer, then say to it, guys, here you can go, right? This is what we understand. I think exactly last year, it was so, I would say black day, but somehow we just moved out. And I said like the FIFA World Cup, and subsequently we got an opportunity, to work on this Women World Cup as well, right? So should be hiccups there, but then we should plan well. The strategy should be more important, I would say.
Thank you. Very well articulated. There's a question coming up from Lakshman, from a participant. He was saying that, how can I help myself by not becoming worthless in the service industry, which I'm depending upon? He wanted you to share some light on the MSME side, micro, small, medium enterprise industries, particularly. How does the hyper automation help here?
Does it indirectly, I'm just trying to understand. It's an interesting question, Bala. So maybe Lakshman can correct if understanding is not correct. Does it indirectly imply in terms of, how hyper automation or any automation for that matter is making us not worth? Maybe I'm trying to understand. If that is the case, it is just an enabler for anybody and how I can become, or how I individually can add value to that is by becoming an inspirer of automation. How can I decide what to automate and create value in the ecosystem by leveraging this as a tool or as a utility? So that is how I would personally add value or make myself worth in this evolving evolving ecosystem.
Okay.
Yeah, to add to that, right? If I understand the question a little differently, I think he's just trying to ask, how can I make myself relevant to the current economy again? In terms, I say, the technology is changing so much in today's world, especially the hyper automation that we were talking about. If I am, if you look at an MSME, they can use these technology because the technology is growing and coming closer to you. You can use this tool to improve your processes, and maybe that is how you differentiate yourself and have a better customer satisfaction, and hence your growth will be much more faster than any of your competitors. So I say use the technology to your advantage.
Good. So there is also another question coming on from the ground. Are there any ethical considerations or concerns associated with hyperautomation and how it should be addressed? Any ethical considerations from the hyperautomation end?
Well, it's a very hard question to answer. It depends from business to business. I'll give you one scenario. When we were working for a large oil major company, we wanted to introduce automation, and they said, what, you're going to take up our jobs. But how you apply automation can be changed. Like, for example, in that specific instance, the accountants were doing night outs to clear vendor invoices. Now imagine it's not his job to do it, but thanks to the entire pressures of economics, they can't recruit more because they don't have the budget. So they started doing the work that they're not supposed to do. So where you apply automation makes the difference. And are you going to help your team become more efficient, or maybe your economical condition or your company is not able to take the costs, hence you're using automation to replace? Depends on the choice of the business. At the end of the day, we are in a competing world. So we always say, if you have 10 people and you're doing, let's say, X number of business, if you apply automation, you can do Y number of business. So you rather look at growing your business rather than replacing people.
Fair perspective, Venkat. Another point I just remembered is, it is related to what you said. What is the purpose for which you are using automation? The reason why all these checks and balances are coming in our online system, whether you are really a human being or are you really a bot, it is because somebody is trying to unethically use all these automation to do something which is not really required or which is not adding any value to the ecosystem. So we have to really take into consideration whatever we are doing is really solving the purpose, whatever we have identified as the so-called objective, and not really to create problem for others. That is very important. And when we do the systems or when we build the systems, let us make sure we build the guardrails against all these issues also, because that is something we can never avoid in a place where we live. So we have to really be careful and build a guardrails around our systems also. Yeah, that was a great question.
Absolutely. To be honest, I would say that the pressure from the customer, to us, see why we are started this transformation, this hyper automation, why we want to support this customer. It's just because of the pressure. I wouldn't say that it does not only the pressure from the customer, but also, the competitive. Correct. If I would not be doing some XYZ would be approaching the customer, they would say that, guys, I have a solution for your, issue. I have my hyper automation composable offerings. By enabling this, you can easily, uplift your business, right? So in short, I would say that you just be very smart. You just see to it what sort of the nuances from hyper automation can be taken care, in order to bring the solution to the customer. And step 2 is just think about it. My solution would really help the customer to accelerate their journey. If yes, of course, you can rule. You can rule your, industry wherever you belong to, no matter which industry you belongs to. If you understand the nuances of these two, and of course, we can always provide the right solution to the customer, and we always be treated as a, like asset in the industry as well. Yeah.
I think that sums up the questions, and thank you very much. And just wanted to close the talk by summarizing the views what it all came through. I could sense that hyperautomation is not merely a kind of a technology upgrade, but a revolutionary approach, which is truly synergizing the advanced technologies convergence to augment the human capabilities, which enables us to really drive the innovation and also automate the business processes with much more creativity to drive value creation to the business by leveraging a lot of digital technologies together. Balancing this kind of a benefits with ethical responsibility becomes a very crucial element for fostering the equitable and sustainable development progress. With that thoughts, I would also try to summarize and help you understand the themes under which we try to discuss is about the strategic importance and relevance from the business paradigm, whether it is a small or a high or industrial automation. Hyperautomation makes sense because it drives efficiency and also swiftly helps you to move into the emerging trends and manage your challenges much more effectively. Second important thing, it also entails you to drive operational resilience, which really empowers the organizations to drive enhanced decision-making capabilities. And third thing which looked at is a practical implementation and challenges, where we have witnessed some demos coming in from Rekha and Venkat, where they shown how hyperautomation, when combined with the intelligence, can make a big differences, and how these best practices and strategies with the various tools can be employed to overcome the true challenges. Last but not the least is also discussed on the ethical and societal implications, because any new dialogue or any new technology which we try to discuss, ethical considerations and social implications becomes a very important entity, because as we say that generative AI, chat GPT kind of technologies will have a direct impact with hyperautomation. And we see that future vision is in that direction. Understanding the real concerns plays a very important role. And we also want to communicate the fact that this hyperautomation is only aiding you as a job function to accelerate your output much faster, rather than thinking that this really displaces your job. With that note, I thank all the speakers who played a very critical role in demonstrating their experiences and sharing their thoughts on hyperautomation. Thank you, Rekha, Padmavati, and Venkat. Truly bringing your experiences and perspectives helped us to understand the significance of the hyperautomation to our delegates who attended today. And I also thank the FTCCI leadership team, Mila Jodhe, Ravi Kumar, and Suresh Sundran and Rekha, who always encourages FTCCI and the committee team to drive these functions. Thank you, Pankaj and Mohan Raidu Garu, for enabling this particular Tech Connect team to bring new technologies to all the participants. Thank you, all the delegates who participated, and thank you, not the least is Vishal, who was behind us doing all these discussions, branding and other things. Thank you, Vishal, for setting up the things for us. With that note, I close this webinar today, and thank you again, once again, to all the speakers who spent their quality time with all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Bala.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a nice weekend.
Thank you for joining.